This is Reading Between the Lines. This is episode 31, and today we have some special guests with us, which we are super excited about. We have Bree and Parker, who are authors of Riftborne, and if you haven't heard of that book yet, please go get it and read it because it is so good. Emma and I read it about a couple weeks ago, a month ago now, was it? Yeah, and it changed our lives. So we
Oh my
needed to talk
gosh.
to them. And we needed to dive into it. This is Reading Between the Lines. So, Bree and Parker, please introduce yourselves and just let us know or let the listeners know what is Riftborn and how did it come about?
Okay, well, I'm Bree. Nice to meet all of you.
I'm Parker.
And so Riftborn came about because Parker and I play Dungeons and Dragons. And at the time, we were probably like 3 years in a campaign. Um, and we were kind of coming to an end of that campaign and writing the backstories for the next one. And our dungeon master, our DM, he kind of vanished off the face of the earth. We don't know where he went. We know he's okay, but
We think.
we
We're not
think
sure.
we're not sure. But we were kind of talking. We're like, man, like these stories are so cool. We have these awesome characters,
We
and like,
both spent like days coming up with these like really intense, like way too thorough backstories for these characters that we were gonna play.
and we were like, okay, what like this could be a book. Like this could be a cool book, and someone should write it, probably. And it didn't even occur to us at first that it should be us. We had always tried to like write things like high school, middle school. I have like the start of a book and never like fleshed it out, like fully fleshed it out. But then we just kind of spiraled on the phone for like 18 hours.
Now, we're known to do that. That's not new, but this time it was about one thing the whole time.
And it just turned into like, okay, let's do it. Let's write a book. Let's see what happens. And um, yeah, like 2 or 3 months later, Riftborn was finished. So
First draft was
first
was
draft.
finished, but
Wow.
we literally went from like spiraling all day, like in daydreamy, like just talking about like, oh, and this is what I was hoping he would do with my character, and like this is how I thought I saw it progressing, to like, hey, we should combine these things and write it into a book. And then the next day we started writing a book. So,
Oh my gosh, that's crazy
yeah.
that it just came out that fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it almost felt like it was fate because our stories, like we had two separate characters, and the stories just kind of like blended so well. And I think that that's kind of how we viewed Riftborn as like this introduction almost to this world. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. How did the writing process go with two authors instead of one? Like, did one of you write and then edit, or did you each write like separate parts?
So it's actually funny because we had a different process for Riftborn than we've had writing Dustbound. With Riftborn, it was very much like we had the most detailed outline ever, and we would alternate chapters, and then we would edit each other's chapters and like add things in to make it seem more cohesive. But with Dustbound, we've just been on Google Meet calls and written every single chapter like together.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, Riftborn was very much so like, every other chapter, every few chapters, and then editing each other's chapters because obviously we're speaking from the same mind, we're in Fia's mind. So
First
we didn't,
person.
yeah, so we didn't want it to seem like two people. And I think that especially in Duskbound. But I mean, did question for the readers, like, did you guys feel like in certain chapters that it felt like maybe two different thoughts, or did it always feel like, Fia?
It felt like Fia the whole
Yeah.
time.
I
in
would
my
have
Good.
never known.
Yeah.
Never.
we say that we have the same mind, so
Yeah, I mean, we've been best friends for 10 years, so we really do like share a lot of the same thoughts, I think.
We understand that, except we've only been friends for like a year and a half, 2 years maybe.
sometimes you
Hey,
just like yeah, like platonic soulmates. You just like you click with somebody, you know?
Yes. Yes. Well, that's so crazy. I think that you guys just all of a sudden were like, yeah, this is happening. And then it happened. And I feel like a lot of authors can say that is just like, yeah, I had this idea, it came up, and now it's here. And so that's just awesome. And the fact that you guys did it together as like best friends, like that just shows like the power of your friendship and just like that you trust each other enough to do that. And like, I don't know, I mean, I love Emma, but I don't know if we could ever write a book together. I don't think we could do that.
Probably not.
When I think about having to do it by myself, like I just because there's so many times where I think I would have been like, I'm at a loss, or it would have taken a lot longer. I think getting to, like throw ideas back and forth, like it really helped the flow of things
yeah,
and
So,
holding
that's
each
like the
other
biggest
accountable.
thing.
Yeah.
and did you guys like who had the idea? Well, this could be a maybe a spoil, but who had the idea first for like Fia, but then also the general? And why am I blanking on his name right now?
Laura.
Lorik Ashford.
Oh, thank you.
Laura.
Yes. I was like, why am I? Oh my goodness.
No,
Yes.
we all read too many books, so if you
It
guys need a
happened.
refresher on anything, we've got you.
See.
So Thea was actually my backstory,
Okay.
and Lorik was in the backstory as well. I had written him in as for anyone who plays Dungeons and Dragons, he was going to be an archfey. Um, what's the word? I can't even think of it, but matron,
Patron.
matron. So he was written into the backstory, and I don't think this is spoiler to say this, but the idea of the story was actually written around Duskbound. So I think that's why Riftborne, we view it as an introduction to
Hmm.
the story.
And it's a trilogy, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so Dustbound is next,
Yes.
and that one's done.
Yes, it's done.
And
It's
you
in editing right now. I mean,
okay.
we're done writing it.
Okay. And you guys, have you started book three?
We actually have a different book that's going to be coming out first before book three. We
Where
don't
does
want to give anything away, but it will be nice for people to read it before they read book three.
they're just
Okay.
giving us
We're
more
not
book
good at
three?
keeping secrets, so we're both just like
But
grinning.
we're gonna have to just not say too much on that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So it
Adding,
might be a while before book three, but that's one of the reasons we tried to get out Dustbound quickly after Riftborne
yeah.
because we knew we had kind of a schedule like that.
Okay.
Now I'm sad.
What was
Don't
the
be sad. I promise that this other series will also be fulfilling. That's all I'll say.
what was the timeline from like when had the idea to like finishing Riftborn? Like how long after all the edits and stuff?
So it was a long process. Basically, we started writing in November of not this past year, 2023. And then in January, I ended up going to France for a month and we kind of just didn't write anymore. We had half of it done.
Hmm.
And then I was gone. After I got back, we didn't really write in February either. But then in March, we got back in like full force and we finished in about a month. So we wrote November, December, and then all of March. And then we were doing our own redraft, like other drafts, I would say all through April. And we sent it off to our editor, I think at the beginning of June. And so our editor did the developmental edit all through June. We got it back, made necessary changes, and then we sent it off for line editing because there's a bunch of different types of editing and they take a long time. So the writing process for us didn't take that long, but the editing is double the time of the writing process usually.
Right.
So then we sent it back and they edited all of July and then it came out in September.
That's
Oh wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But only 3 months of those were actually really writing the story.
Right.
How? How do
I
you put a book together in 3 months?
I think it really is because there's two of us,
Yeah.
there's two minds and um I mean, we wake up, I want to say like, at 7 a.m. and we don't stop until 7 p.m.
It helps that we both have jobs where we can commit like this is like our full-time job right now. Like not as in like financially, but like our other job allows us
to
to
spend
do
a lot of time
this.
on
So 12-hour days a lot of the time.
it. Mhm.
My gosh, that's crazy.
But it
Well
doesn't feel
worth it
like
though.
work. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't feel like work. We have so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. What was the hardest part? And I guess maybe too, you can kind of, because we kind of skipped over this, but what, I mean, you kind of talked about like what Riftborn is and like what the world is, but I mean, tell our listeners like really what it is. Like give us a kind of an overview without spoiling anything. But then what was the hardest part of actually writing it? It could be going through the editing and all that, or what was something within the book that was actually very hard for you to write? You could, that's probably that was like a 5-part
Yep.
question, but
So, okay, the first part of the question is like what it's about without spoilers. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this is like an author, well, at least for us, one of the hardest things. Like anyone's like, tell us about your book. And I'm
We freeze up. We're um,
well, there's a girl and she has powers. And um, so yeah, but, let's try our
we'll
best.
try. Okay.
So it's about a girl named Fia, and she has powers that she doesn't really know how to control.
She's
And
scared of them.
she's scared of them. She's scared to use them. And everyone else around her, we call the powers focuses. They all have a focus, and it kind of seems to come like second nature to everyone else. But to her, she doesn't even consider it a focus because it's not anything that she could focus on and actually contain. She gets herself into a pickle by accidentally almost killing two noble ladies. And that accident is seen by the general. And he offers her a choice, which is not really a choice, but
Blackmail,
well,
really.
we'll call it blackmail, um, to either join the guard and he will train her, or to, face the consequences of what she had done. So, um, and
The
she,
other layer to it is that she is a branded refugee from this other island country to the east that has been destroyed by the place that she's currently living. And so she's always kind of like been looked down upon, and the that's why her name is Fia Riftborne. All of the refugee children from that place are called have the common last name of Riftborne, and they're branded on their hands so they're identifiable. And so not only is she warring with this power within her, she's also like trying so hard not to be seen by anyone like around her or provoke attention or anything like that.
and the guard is obviously her, enemy of sorts. So that's the last thing that she would want to do. But, not given much of a choice, she joins the guard, and the story kind of goes from there. There is, an enemy that she finds out that they're facing, and yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but so that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question, I believe, was the hardest part of the book to write, and I would say for me, it was like the middle of the book. We wanted to make sure that it didn't feel like Fia just went from 0 to 100. We wanted everyone to grow with her.
Mm.
And so, if that made it seem kind of long and drawn out, like we were fine with that because we wanted everyone to feel that growth, like the same growth that she was feeling and kind of go on that journey with her.
Well, a lot of her growth is also reveals, throughout the story too. So we wanted to be able to set up those moments like appropriately. And yeah, I mean, Bree's completely right. We just really wanted it to seem like a realistic time frame of like her learning how to do all of these things. But there's this thing in writing, and it's often called the soggy middle. And we were so scared of
Of having a soggy middle.
because there's not like the first and I would say the first and second third of the book don't have that much action in them. There's a lot going on, but it's not action. And so I feel like we were worried about that. But like the way the story goes, there's not action happening during those parts.
She's
So
learning. So
it's all at the end.
But even though there's not action, there is romantic tension that is just, it is chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Oh,
Chef's,
yay.
like, for our
We
listeners who like this, just the romantic tension, this book has it. It is so good. Like, Emma
Oh,
and I would
great.
send voice messages back and forth and be like, wait, he said what? What? He did what? Yeah, I'm sorry, he did what? What? Like, there were just some things where I was like, oh, okay. Wow, I would never thought that. Oh. Can't say
Okay,
much, but it did get a little warm. It did get a little hot, okay?
Yep.
We would love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations.
so unhinged.
That's like the author's dream, I guess, to actually see like
Oh
readers like genuine reaction to things.
Oh my gosh. It was definitely, I mean, Emma, you could probably speak to it because you read it after me, right?
Yeah, like a day after.
Yeah. So I finished it in like a day and you finished it the day after. And I had all these things that I was like, Emma, you need to get to this page. You need to get to this chapter. So you could probably speak to it more than I could because you like had to deal with me having finished it.
Yeah, well, you would freak out over a scene, and then I got to a scene, I'm like, that's definitely the scene she was freaking out over because I'm freaking out over it.
Listen, I'm not gonna say a lot, but chapter 27 just I just remember that's the number of the chapter. And I just remember being like, okay, Emma, you need to get to chapter 27. And then we need to talk. Okay? Okay.
Is
Okay.
that the after hours chapter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I
It,
was like, how do I describe it without giving it away?
it
We
was
love that chapter too.
Yeah.
how did you write that? Like, was it hard to write something like that?
I think we were so excited to get to those points, because, with an enemies to lovers or a slow burn, that's the whole build up. So we
Right.
were excited to get to those chapters.
Did you write it scene by scene, or did you jump around the book and write different scenes, like chapter one and then chapter like 30 or something?
We kind of jumped around a
At the
little
beginning, we jumped
beginning.
around.
It was like, okay, we want to get out, things that we have in our mind. I think a lot of authors, when they come up with an idea, it's like usually of this like really epic scene. It's not about the like, oh, I'm waking up and going to work scenes. Um, so we got those like out of our head. And I'm sure most of it even changed by the end of it. But yeah, we jumped around a little bit more in the beginning, and then once we got into the flow of things and that sort of stuff, we started writing chapter by chapter.
Well, I know at the beginning we each wrote a scene that was not at the beginning of the book, and it was more an exercise for us, like, okay, let's both write something we're excited about so that we can like get into the vibe of like writing, because like we've written like D&D backstories and stuff like that, but like long distance writing, we haven't done that in a really long time. So we just kind of took that opportunity, like, you're excited about this scene, I'm excited about this scene. Let's each write it. And of course, we ended up changing and expanding on them in the end. But like, that's what got us like, okay, we're in the zone. Like, let's start writing.
Right. That's super cool. So here's the thing that I guess we could say too, because we said this on other episodes, is Emma and I are both also starting to write. Well, you have two books written, I have two, but I'm rewriting all of mine, so
Yeah.
it's basically none.
Oh my gosh, that's so
That's so
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to pick your brains because we're like, you've done it. You've done what we want to do.
Oh my gosh, if y'all have any other questions, like even outside of this, like about the publishing process or even like any of it, like we learned it all
Yeah.
on our own. So like we can answer questions about that kind of stuff too.
Well, I'm sure we'd love to pick your brain, especially because Emma's a lot closer to publishing than I am.
Oh, that's so fun.
It is true.
No, that is
Are
so
they in
exciting.
this genre?
Oh,
Mine's like a dystopian romantasy mix.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
Hers is very like, I would say it's, when I read Riftborne, I was like, it's a little bit like that. They're kind of similar in some of the things. I'm
Oh,
not
well,
gonna say a little.
I want to read it. So
I know.
if you need like a beta
Or
reader,
critique partner or
yeah,
like alpha readers, arc readers. We'd love to do it.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, yes. It's been fun to do it together too, because Emma started writing. I mean, before we were friends, you started writing.
I started writing when I was 18 and I'm almost 21 now. So, and I like rewrote the first book like three different times. So,
Yeah.
Usually how it goes.
yeah,
And so our friendship started with ACOTAR, and that's where it all started. And Emma had never read it. I had read it multiple times because it's my feel good series. And so I was like, "You haven't read this?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "You need to read it." So
get
then
on.
that's the book like friendship started. And then she goes, "Yeah, so I've like been thinking about writing a book, or like I'm writing a book." And I was like, "What?" Well, like we're in college. What? And I was like, okay. And then about a week later, I had this scene in my head and I was like, oh, shoot, I want to write now too.
Book
And
fever.
yes, oh my gosh. So, yeah, that's why we wanted to pick your brain on that, just because it's like you guys have done what we want to do. And, like you can't call up Rebecca Yaros or, you know what I mean? You can't just call
Right.
up and ask. Like,
Yeah,
so,
that's incredible. Well, we're super excited for both of you. And like, yeah, any questions, any way we can help, we'd love to. And that's so impressive that y'all are so young and like writing books. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
well, Emma's trying to be like a Lauren Roberts out here.
yeah, obviously.
That's your like goal in life.
I mean, that's a
well,
good goal.
yeah,
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was such a side tangent, but that's okay.
We love tangents.
Yeah,
Oh, we do too. We do too. We were talking about our voice messages that we send back and forth. We send like 5 a day to each other, and it's just so chaotic and unhinged, but it's fine. Um,
That's how it
so
should be.
I want to talk about Riftborn a little bit, and then I have a couple questions about this rest of the series, which I know you probably can't say a lot, but I think we want to talk about Riftborn a little bit. And so, Emma, do you want to start with your kind of thoughts and whatever?
Yeah, so one of the first things that I realized is I love how I related to Fia. Like when she was like, I don't want to go to this party, I hate crowds. I'm like, that's so me. Did you guys did you put your personality into that or those characters?
for
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
We actually said that we for Fia and Asta that they were both like a blend of our personalities, and then we like separate them to the
Into
extremes.
opposites.
Yeah, like into opposites.
Love that. And
Yeah.
then I just thought like I love the romance. Like I'm such a big romance girly. Like no matter if it's like sports romance or romantasy and the tension, I live for that. And it was perfect. It was so good.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Oh my
much.
gosh. Yes, the one quote that I still think about, well, there's a couple. And I'm gonna get one of them wrong, so I'm gonna have to pull it up because I like took a picture of it. But one that's just 3 words. It's 3 words, but it's so good. When he who shall not be named said, "You're impossible, Fia." Like that just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And as Bree already mentioned and Parker when they were talking originally about Riftborne, there's training and she's learning how to be part of the guard, which if you've read any romantasy book, you know what that is like. You've experienced it. It is wonderful. In the romantic tension in this book is just top tier when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So kudos to you guys because it
oh,
was just so good.
we
Thank
really appreciate that a lot.
When you know they want each other, but they hate each other, they can't have each other, and it's like, I love it.
Yes,
The
you.
best kind.
The best
yes,
kind. That's
totally.
right. And that's our favorite thing to write is that build up, like that. I think it's everyone's favorite thing to read too, is the
Oh,
the
yeah.
build up like before, everything before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say too, like the first couple chapters when you find out her powers and that she can't control them right away, right at the beginning, it was like, oh, okay, we're stepping into this world where she's figuring out who she is. And I think that was a big part too, like with the book and where I'm excited to see the rest of the series go is who really is Fia and where did she come from and what is her backstory? Because I feel like there's a lot, obviously, that we don't know yet. And I'm interested to see how that all comes into play, especially with how Riftborn ends, which I screamed. I was like, are you kidding me? I have to wait for the next book and it ended like that? Okay. But like I'm so excited to just see how her backstory kind of comes into play because like Emma said, like I relate to her in a different way than Emma did, but like just like her emotions and her like feelings towards things, like I related to that. And so I'm interested to see then how that comes into play going forward with everything that we know now and actually how little we actually know about the entire world. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Via's very avoidant as like a person for a majority of the book. And so even questions that like, Asta has about their past or, Fia has like pushed all of that so far down that she's like convinced herself she doesn't care about
right.
it. And that's like another big part of her character growth is like, especially going into the next book is like really deciding like she's gonna have to figure that out. So there are answers.
Good. There needs to be
Yes.
some. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when she like figures out where how she fits in
Yeah.
because she reminded me a little bit of Farah because from Akatar because Farah she's just trying to figure out well how do I fit in this new place
Mhm.
and so in Fia it's the same sort of thing she's figuring it out but also there's so much more that I can't say but it'll be interesting to see and that kind of leads me to like a question which you guys probably can't answer and you want to keep your secrets. But what should we be looking forward to in the next book or even the third book?
I would say look forward to a lot more world building
Okay.
and look forward to a lot more friendships.
Oh,
And it's very, very much more fast-paced than Riftborn. And um, look forward to Fia finding some answers. A lot of answers.
A lot of answers. Some answers lead to more questions,
Yeah, as they must.
as they must, because there's 3 books.
yup. The other thing too that I think that I wanted to mention, it was just there the friendships that were already there or the when she was meeting everybody in the guard and stuff like that, like you could just tell immediately. Obviously, it was her POV, but you could tell immediately how she felt. And it was like, I feel the same way. I just met this character too. I don't like them, or I do like them, or they annoy me, or, going down the line. And I just love, there was one character, and I can't remember her name. Is it Narissa? Is that,
Narissa, yeah.
Yeah,
and her nickname for her was Blood Clot.
it was.
I died
Do you want to
laughing.
hear something we've never told anyone? And it is like one of our favorite secrets ever, because I think this is what happens when two best friends decide they want to write a book
Yes,
together.
please tell
Like,
it.
so, there's the focus that like is an umbrella term for a few different things, but it's called a blood lock. That was only born because we were trying to find out how to make Narissa's nickname Blood Clot.
So we have a whole magical line of people based on wanting to call someone a blood clot.
Oh
Um,
my God.
We were like,
it's
what
a
rhymes
really
with it that
cool
we could say
power.
blood lock? Okay, so that's a focus then.
And it's a really cool focus.
Yes,
I think I would want that focus. So it's like, it was perfect.
that is hilarious how that came up. I love that.
It's funny. There's like a few things. That's the best one, but it's funny how you come to certain decisions and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome, but it started in this really random, obscure way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great secret and I love it. Thank you for sharing because
You're
that
welcome.
was one thing that I was like, I need to bring up because I laughed so hard the
We did
first time
too.
that Pia called her
We
that.
were cackling when we were writing it. We were
For way too
cackling.
long. We're geniuses. This is so funny. I don't know if anyone else will think it's so funny. I'm glad you thought it was so funny.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you guys are geniuses. That was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Good to know.
How did you figure out the names for your characters? Because I know I just like look on Pinterest, but I know like other authors pick names of people they know.
So a lot of our characters' names are linked to our Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Named after our friends, characters
So
and
like
stuff.
our Asta, that name comes from my cousin. That was her name in the campaign before. Um, Thea was the name of the my character for the next campaign. And so
Alaric came from Alaric.
yeah, his Laric's name was going to be Alaric Serpentcross, and then we were told that that sounded like an old man.
Our
So
editor said, please don't do that. We were like,
like,
okay.
like, okay. And so then we changed. We're like, okay, well, we went through so many names we couldn't agree on one. Then we're like, Laric, like that's cool. And she still wasn't the biggest fan,
She said
but
it looked like Larry K.
Larry K. So we were like, okay, but you know what? We love it. We love it. We're gonna stick with
We're
it.
like, you don't like anything, so we're just gonna do it.
We decided to go with Laric Ashford, and we really ended up loving that name. So
It's a good character name, yet, I mean, I have my own theories. Emma and I both right away were like, he's got copper hair.
It's
Hmm.
not black.
Yeah. We were like,
We know where you're going with that.
but then when he was the romantic tension, I was like maybe this will be different. Like maybe there's like a new like hair color that we need to get used to and love. But then the end came and I was like, hmm. And Emma had very strong opinions about this. We both were like, the romantic tension is there, and but he has copper hair. That was like something we were both like,
Yeah.
no. Because Emma has this like hate, she just hates blonde hair, hates
or
blonde hair because of Tamlin.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
Camlin kind of like made a name for blonde hair. Men.
exactly.
He did.
Exactly.
Oh, thoughts go out to all the blondes, blonde men in the world.
Just long blonde hair. Or
Long.
some can pull it off.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's so funny. It's so true. And it's such an expected thing in romantasy now too. Like we all know what the love interest is supposed to look like. So,
Right. Well, but even so, like they have to be morally gray, but right now, like I feel like there's multiple that are morally gray. So I feel like there's options.
Mhm. Yeah, and that was one thing that we really wanted to, because we were like, I mean, real people, not everyone, but most people are like morally gray. We wanted Fia to be morally gray, and we wanted Lorik to be morally gray and like true to that, all the way through. Um, and so, and you know, that does follow into the next book, some morally gray characters. So it's our favorite to read.
and
Yes.
Lorik, no matter what happens in the future, Lorik is one of our favorite characters because, like, in Riftborn, you've only scraped the surface with him, really. And like he was always going to be the most complex character out of the entire series. And we knew that when we wrote Riftborn that Lorik would probably have mixed opinions
Right.
or um some divisiveness just because I think people have come to expect something so specific from the MMC
Mm.
and Lorik doesn't really fit into the box that a lot of them do. And, you know, we've seen people like just be like, "Oh my gosh, I hated Lark," and then some people are like, "I loved Lark," and it's like that's kind of what we wanted to happen because Lark is kind of like that guy that does things. He has some redeeming qualities, but they're not like fully there or fully explained. And
We've
we
all liked a
wanted
man like this.
We
We've
all have
all
known a
had a
man
crush.
like that. Like that's what Lark was supposed to be, not this like absolutely perfect, pristine thing that's morally great to everyone else, but never to Fia. And, so that was intentional on
Mm.
our part. We didn't accidentally write him like that.
I don't know how I feel yet. I feel like I need the second book to have an actual opinion.
Yeah.
Comes
No,
out soon. We'll send y'all early copies of it too, so
yes.
y'all get it
Oh my
before.
gosh. You
That's
guys are the sweetest.
well, oh, we can't leave you hanging. You
Oh
Yeah.
my
must
gosh.
know.
I just wanted to mention that the dream that he had, I was freaking out the whole time I was reading it. It
Oh
was,
my god.
So what did you, I'm I don't know if it's going to give spoilers if we talk about it, but like we're this is one of the things where me and Bree always say like we wish we could read it not knowing what was going to happen because there's
Mm.
no way for us to actually be unbiased enough to know how the reader is going to interpret like what we write. And so like in that when you're reading it before it gets to the end of that chapter like what did you think was going on? And we don't have to answer it if it's a spoiler, but like we just rarely get to ask people that.
yeah, well, I can say I knew like that it was a dream. Like I knew that's what was happening. I didn't know whose dream it was.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I didn't know like what exactly was happening until like the very end of that chapter. But I feel like
Yeah.
the like when it was revealed that what it was, I was like, that makes it so much more better. Like it just adds to the tension.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my gosh. I was like, can I also have this dream? Like, I want to be in her position.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I just remember also being like, why is this? No, this should not just be a dream. Like, this should be reality. Like, what? I remember being like, no, this can't just be a dream.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's so
Morpheus.
funny.
I did not want it to be a dream.
We really loved the reveal of different things that Fia could do through like I think someone said like this is the first time I've ever seen like that type of reveal like where like in a dream or something like that. Like and so we're really proud of that moment for
Yeah.
sure.
You should be. It was, that was a, yes. I think about that a lot, actually. I
Yeah.
think I have a lot of Roman empires. That might be one of them.
Oh, that's so nice.
I mean, I feel like a lot of romantasy books have like the same kind of tropes, but there are books that are like they add something that I've never seen before, and this is one of them. And it's like, okay, well now my standards are raised, and like the next book I read, like it better be as good.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
that's so
Thank you.
nice.
Yeah, that
Y'all
was
are
one
so
of our
sweet.
favorite things when we came up with that idea. We were like, oh my gosh. And I think that was actually, going back to like one of the first things that we wrote, that might have been one of the first things that we wrote before we started doing like when we were doing the jumping around.
Yeah.
You just knew. You were like, this needs to be a part of this book.
When the idea was brought up, we were like,
Like,
yes.
oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, there's a scene like that actually that is for Dustbound that we had um basically already had our in our minds at the beginning of writing Riftborne. And so for this entire year, we had just been waiting to write this one scene in Dustbound.
We were so excited.
And when we finally got to write it, we were just like dying.
Oh my gosh. Another thing to look forward to, I guess.
Yes.
Yes, something to look forward to.
So you guys have, so Dustbound is written, you have the third book, but you have this other, is another series or is it part of this world?
The duology.
Mhm.
Oh,
It is adjacent to this
oh,
world. You might
okay.
have more theories after you read Dustbound
Yes.
about what it could possibly be.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's so mysterious.
So mysterious. It's a kind of a top secret project, but people, again, it's adjacent, and I think that people will really appreciate it.
Yes.
Hmm.
That's all we can say.
Hmm. So when does Duskbound come out?
It comes
March
out.
4th.
Oh my gosh, so it's coming up.
Yeah,
Yes,
really
it's like
soon.
really soon. Like we said, it's off with the editor right now. We'll be getting it back soon, making those changes, and then sending out art copies.
This writing process went by a lot faster because, first of all, we'd done it before, and
And
second,
Parker wasn't on a different time zone. She's
oh
like
yeah,
spends most of her time in France. So most of the time, like I'm waking up and it's, 3 or 4 p.m. there.
this time we'll just be doing like the editing revisions while I'm there.
While she's
But
on a different time zone.
like with Dustbound, we decided at the beginning that we were going to, instead of having just beta readers after the fact, we were going to have alpha readers like with us as we were writing.
Hmm.
So like I feel like by the time we got done with the first draft, because of the alpha readers, it was really more like a second or third draft because we were editing the entire time and
Right.
adding
We were
things
able
in.
to send, 6 chapters and get feedback on those chapters immediately and be like, oh my gosh, why didn't we think of that? Or, oh yeah, you caught that, like this, plot hole or whatever it is. We were able to catch them as the process was going on instead of it being, that's why I think that the editing process that we're about to do shouldn't be as difficult.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I
Fingers
mean,
crossed.
the more you write, the easier it gets, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes. And like we said, this was the story that we wrote,
We
so
had this entire book outlined in our heads before we put anything on paper, like almost nearly every chapter. I don't know how, but we did.
That's crazy. You're just really hyping it up. And so now I'm like, when's March? Like, March needs to get
we're
here.
like, come on.
We're so proud of this one. Like, I mean, we're just yeah.
Yeah, we feel the
Yeah.
same way. Hurry up, March.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, we were just talking about all these books that we're waiting for in 2025, and
Oh
yours was
yeah.
one of them. Like,
Aw.
like we
It's a
need to,
big year for books.
It
oh,
is. There's going to be some good stuff coming out. I'm excited
oh,
myself.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, thank you for like letting us read Riftborn and like be a part of it. Like that was just so wonderful that you guys reached out and wanted us to be a part of it. Like we were so excited. We were like, "Oh my gosh, authors reached out to us. They want us to read their book. Yes, we want
Well,
to
we
read."
feel so honored. Like, genuinely, we
Seriously.
feel so honored that you read it, like gave us the time of day and enjoyed it. Like it means so
Oh
much to us.
It really
yeah.
does.
Yeah. Well, I guess like one last question really for me, unless Emma has more. But one thing that I wanted to ask, just because you guys are also readers, outside of your own series, what is your favorite book or series, I guess? And why?
Hmm.
Mine changes so frequently. Like I have a favorite like after I finish a book if it's had a really big impact on me for the next like few months of my life, that's my favorite book. Like
I understand that.
I I'm kind of in this like um what well this is a long answer. While we're writing, it's really hard. For the last year I haven't read that many books.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to read or commit to like a series or even like a full length novel. Just because like I'm either in editing mode or I can't get into it because I'm so sucked into like Riftborne or Dustbound. So I've really started reading. They're not novellas, but they're like between novellas and full length like 200 300 page books. And I've been obsessed with A Dowry of Blood and An Education in Malice. And I feel like that's kind of where my like reading taste, like as a reader, is right now.
Hmm.
They're standalone, just like beautifully written, like haunting books. Like that's what I've read recently.
I can give you like a top three kind of thing. I can't ever like I'm trying to think of like an absolute favorite and it's so hard for me. But I'll say for the longest time, like growing up, I loved the Gemma Doyle series. It starts with a book called A Great and Terrible Beauty, and it's really cool. If you haven't read it, I suggest reading it. But it's a YA. And then I am a huge Twilight girl through and
Mm-hmm.
through. Like Edward, Jacob. I read that book series like too many times to count. And then lastly, I actually haven't finished the series, so I can't say the series as a whole, but it's another, at least first book that I read twice, from Blood and Ash.
We love that
It's
series.
so good. It's
It's our
so
new favorite. So once you finish it, you'll have to let us know
good. Okay, okay, I
because
will.
yeah, I have them
Oh,
all.
okay. Yes.
That series we read over the summer and it immediately became our favorite. We have episodes actually out about it. So,
I
It's so
saw
good.
them and I was like,
yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
Oh my gosh. It will change you
I
for the
know. Like I said, I've only read the first and second one, so I can't say as a whole, but the first two are just
Yes.
incredible.
it just goes up. It just gets better.
Oh, that's
So,
exciting. And I know that there's like a spin-off too. Like there's this whole
yep,
world.
I have that one too.
Yep, I got it all. I got it all. Yeah. So
Yes.
I have to get on the ball. Like Parker said, it's kind of hard to read while writing, but now that we're done, I can kind of like get back on the reading game.
Right, for sure. Uh, cool. Yeah. I I'm trying to think of like my favorite. I would have to say From Blood and Ash. So
I've heard
I,
so many good things. I'm out of the loop. I've got to read it.
yeah, it'll change your life.
Oh, and Metal Slinger
Oh
as
yeah, we
well.
love Metal Slinger too.
I haven't read that one.
Oh, you have
Got
to.
it.
You
Yeah,
have
you have
to.
it.
By
Okay.
Rachel
Incredible.
Snyder.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
good.
We'll
It's a
add it to.
series, but only the first one is out.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We'll have to add it to the list.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
I'd probably have to say Powerless by Lauren Roberts.
Hmm.
Even though it's a YA, I'm just like, I'm obsessed with Kai Hazard. So,
We
Sometimes
haven't we
why.
have not had the chance to read it yet either, but that's
It's
definitely on our list as well.
Mhm.
a good one. It's definitely a good one.
My TBR is painfully long, as I'm sure everyone, yes, all book girlies are TBRs. Like yeah, it's hard to look at sometimes. I'm like, okay, what next? And it doesn't
Yep.
even matter what I actually have, like my physical. I have like a physical TBR, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Nope.
That doesn't mean that's the next one.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yep. Totally understand that. Well, Emma, what was so we do a would you rather at the end of every episode.
Okay.
So we're gonna do one with you guys. So Emma,
Okay.
what was our would you rather? I don't remember what you
Okay.
choose.
So, would you rather be an FMC who has an enemies to lovers relationship or unparalleled powers?
Enemies to lovers for me.
Yeah, yeah. Enemies to lovers. It's so good.
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing. Enemies to lovers.
Yeah, I think I'd have to too.
Just
All
all
the things.
Unparalleled powers, but no one to share it with. Well, at least not. I need an enemy to share it with, obviously. On them
right.
at first, and then with them after.
There
Yes.
you go. Yes, that's actually the best answer. Yes, yes, so accurate. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us. This was amazing. I mean, it was so fun to be able to pick your brains about writing, but then also about Riftborne. And we're so excited for the next two books, but then also your other series that you're writing. Oh my goodness, we have so much to look forward to. So we just want to thank you again for willing to find time to talk to us and for letting us just get into the world of Riftborne and Duskbound, which is coming up, which I'm so excited for. So,
Well, thank you guys. Like seriously, like we're so honored and like we're so excited about this. It's like our first like doing something like this. So it was really awesome and like we're so grateful.
Thank
oh
you.
yes.
And you
Of
guys are
course.
awesome.
Yes. Well, when your next book and the next book and the next, I mean, you guys can come on more than once. We would love to have you back.
Amazing. We'd
Would
love to
love
come
to
back.
join. And we're looking forward to reading y'all's books.
Yes.
So
We'll have to keep you in the loop.
yeah, please do. Please do.
Yes, because it would be nice to have somebody read them before they're published, just to look over them and see maybe if we're crazy or if they're actually good.
Oh, that's like one of the biggest questions. I'm serious. Like, and it'll be like an incredible book, but if you're the author, you'll still question it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
like once you read it through a few times, it's like, well, is this actually good or am
You
I?
hate it
Yeah.
almost. Like
Yeah, we got that way.
with Riftborn, we were like, I can't
Can't do
see it again. I hate it. I don't want to ever look at it again. If I read this first chapter one more time, I'm gonna
I
explode.
could probably just like speak it at this point.
Recite
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
that's how it is. I mean, yeah, I'm over my first one and I just rewrote it. So, and then I'm
Yes.
on the second one. So, but
Oh my gosh. Well, like, yeah, let us reach out if you have questions, and we're so excited for the both of you, and we'd love to be of any help or beta readers or anything. So,
yes, we'll let you know. But yeah, thanks again so much. This was so much fun.
thank you. You're
Um,
both lovely.
yes, so are you guys. Thank you again for spending time with us and good luck on finishing editing and all of that and all of your next writing endeavors. We'll talk
Wonderful.
again
Thank
soon.
you.
Yes, we'll be
Yes, we
thinking
will.
too. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
Yes, you too. Thanks.
Bye.